Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well with everyone. I got to put out that first round NFL not mock draft, but recap. But I didn't get to go forward with that Steph Curry Clutch Player of the Year award. I just really want to touch base. I mean, a lot of people think that I'm being harsh on Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry, four-time champ, three-time MVP if you include the finals. Listen, there's no question I respect everything that Steph Curry has epitomized. I watched this man in the beginning of his career. The first game I ever watched, I said, this guy's going to win championships. But the big problem I'm having right now is what I'm concerned with is how can you give someone Clutch Player of the Year award and their team is not even in the playoffs? What exactly is this award mean? I think the NBA needs to really sit down and issue a public statement. What does every award, what constitutes what each award is and qualifies you to win that award? Because and then they need to make some new awards. The MVP needs to be recapped. Most improved needs to be clarified. Whatever this Clutch Player of the Year award, which just barely started a year or two ago, needs clarification as well. I don't quite understand what is the meaning of all this stuff. This participation trophy, because yes, he generates big money, and we got to be reminded that he exists still since his team is not in the playoffs. Mind you, I find it coincidental the Warriors are not in the playoffs while the NBA is slowly integrating back to mid-range shooting basketball, which is, that's very interesting to me. So to me, I find it very fascinating. Even with this Clay, this Andrew Wiggins, listen, this man anointed himself the best point guard in basketball history. Not best point guard in this era, in history. More than John Stockton, more than Gary Payton. He said he was even better point guard than Mark Jackson, who taught him how to be a point guard, because when he got to the league, he was a turnover machine. Now, don't make no mistake about it. When Steph Curry first got to the NBA, I watched his first game and said immediately, he's going to win a chip. Didn't know it was going to be this dominant because the league obviously has gone out of its way to propel him with the supporting cast that he has. But that segues into my next point. You got MVP players getting awards for being the first option or being the face on a 55-60 win team. Most of the time, a team that's won 55-60 games, they're surrounded with talent. Right? That's why it irks me when I hear this Jokic rhetoric. Nothing happens if Aaron Gordon isn't there. He's a tree stump. And if I were the Lakers, I would be having 80 bring the ball up at the top of the key, have LeBron at the 4 at some point, at different points in the game, especially in that third quarter, last stretch of the third quarter. I would wear him down by making him have to meet me up at top, or you're going to have to deal with LeBron taking you off the dribble from the elbow 3 area. One or the other. AD on the far top right elbow, LeBron on the far left, and we're going to go ahead and see how you do when the whole floor is spread out. And if you guys want to run a zone, you can. But that's not my business. This is the thing. Michael Porter, only reason why he slid to Denver was because of back problems. Jam Murray is a three-dimensional dynamic scorer with the clutch gene. So you got to ask yourself, what if I put LeBron on the Nuggets with that supporting crew? What would he be doing right now? Right? It's ludicrous now, right? When you think about it, like, oh, let me put LeBron on the Nuggets, and what would he do with that Porter Jamal Murray squad? Now I know he's a little ball centric, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean. He would do video game numbers. Let's be for real. It's you gotta really, like, in that same point forward role that Jokic plays as point center. To call him the best player in the league, they need to just call it a face of the league award. Who do you want to represent the league? Who do you want to anoint as the face of the league this year? That's all they have to do. Keep it real with the fans. When you think you sliding something past people, the fan base is not stupid. You're insulting the fan base. Forcing awards on people that don't exist and are not applicable is how people lose interest. I frequent Los Angeles. I can't tell you how many residents of LA do not think anything of the Grammys or whatever whatever awards you think are going on. It flies over people's heads because it lost its credibility a long time ago when people were not getting the actual entertainers that people were fans of were not getting their just due in terms of respect. Awards being handed out because this is the biggest name and this person has got this endorsement, and that endorsement is the ultimate fast track way of losing people's interest. These awards are important. It's think pieces. It creates convo, dialogue. And what I don't want to see is the league going insolvent. Another threat to the league going insolvent because the league wants to play politics again. Steph Curry, if anyone was on a losing campaign that was qualified, it was DeMar DeRozan. You can't tell Curry you got Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, two guys who he won a championship with, and then you won a championship with them, but now all of a sudden you can't get into the playoffs, and then it's like, well, that's because he has no help. Well, you also have the highest paid coach in the NBA who's also going to be coaching in the Olympics. It doesn't make sense. And when it doesn't make sense, it causes a disconnect amongst the viewership. This is what ends up happening. You look at DeRozan, and this guy was literally, he's got no Zach LaVine. That's a 25 a night score. You got Alonzo Ball who's out. Kobe White is not necessarily the most natural of point guards. So he's just running up empty calorie stats. Even though, his numbers are his numbers. You got to respect it. And he definitely had willed his team at times in this, so I don't want to sound like I'm just offsetting everything he's done. But let's be honest right here. When you're talking about DeMar DeRozan is going to move the needle this offseason. He's the reason why Paul George is not able to negotiate the way he wants to right now. Even whether he has a good series or a bad series, he could have told the Clippers, well, you gave up all this stuff to get me, whilst SGA is a potential MVP candidate or an MVP winner, for that matter, that is who deserves to be MVP. Otherwise, Jalen Brunson was my number 2, but was my second choice if that was going to be the reserve choice if SGA didn't win. But you got this guy here. I lost my train. You got DeRozan over here willing a team that's completely empty-handed right now. And so that would have made sense if they got into the playoffs. But if not, then you go to Jalen Brunson. Half the roster has been injured all year. There's no Randall. There's OJ's been missing the better part. A guy like Precious Achiuwa has barely gotten any minutes in Toronto, has been relied on to play 40 minutes, north of 40 minutes. Josh Hart is playing power forward, which now I think we all got to give him his respect. He's there. There's definitely remnants of being a power forward. What are we talking about here? Right? So, ultimately, at the end of the day, we got a situation now with, where I think Jalen Brunson should have got most improved. I think Jokic being discussed in the MVP award. I don't understand how they can't apply that abstract thinking to the MVP award. If you're a 5 through 8 option, if you're a 5 through 8 seed and you're a first option, that's an MVP. Not a guy who's on a team that's orchestrated like Jalen. It's not just Jokic. Jason Tatum is not an MVP. You can't discount what Jaylen Brown is doing and what Kristaps Porzingis is doing. That Drew Holiday, that's the sacrifice you make. MVP needs to go to the actual person who's willing his team to win. And if it was subtracted from his lineup, the team would have no chance in hell of being in the playoffs. Clutch player of the year, I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like that thing, I don't know what it. Most buckets in crunch time. Well, I don't really know Steph Curry to be clutch. That's why when Max said, give me Iguodala, and everyone was clowning him, it's like, well, if you really watch ball, he's actually right. Iguodala trusts more than, regular just shooting threes, that's Curry. But when you're talking about game on the line, that's different. Side note, shout out to Andre Iguodala. Watching the Nuggets pounce on the Lakers like this and seeing that maybe LeBron needs to learn to be more of a third option, and watching Klay struggle in his role, you got to give a lot of credit to this man. He really did put his prime down in advance for the greater good. Prime Iguodala is better than anything that Klay was ever, and he had a lot more left in the tank when he decided to go to the bench for the greater good. Same thing with Ginobili. It's something LeBron needs to think about, because his options are really few this offseason if he does elect to go somewhere that can actually draft his son Bronny and have that father-son moment uh, it's going to really require him to really do some soul searching. How much is he willing to compromise? Because you can't go to OKC thinking that you're going to be the guy that leads the team. I do think it's not just for a Cinderella story. The Cavs really need LeBron. They really need his guidance. They need his physicality, his old school mentality. He really does belong in Cleveland. All right, Utopians. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.